G'day, I'm Patrick. Today I'm going to show you 2 home maintenance jobs that's going to save you hundreds on tradesmen. The first job, the laundry door won't lock anymore unless you give it a bit of a wiggle and jiggle. The second job, over time, door's been slammed too many times and the screws come out. First step is determining what's going on. The way it should work, you depress the snib and the latch bolt drives home into the wall. That's not happening for some reason. So you just got to have a quick look and make sure that the striker plate is in the correct position. That's on your door jamb there. And you've got to make sure that the latch bolt can actually fit into the hole on the striker plate properly. It does seem like that is occurring. So that's not necessarily the issue. So what I'm going to do is have a look inside the striker plate and make sure that hole is in the right position. What I can see here is that on the side of the striker plate hole, there's a little bit of gunk that they haven't fully taken out. So I'm just going to take that out, clean it up and see what happens. First things first, we need to take it apart and see what's going on. So take those 2 screws out and take the handle plate off, and that's where we can see what they have done last time. They've just put a wall plug in there, which has sort of done the job a little bit for a temporary solution, but it's not a permanent solution. We're going to do a permanent solution this time. We can see, if we have a bit of a look inside there, that there is absolutely nothing behind that leaf. So this internal hollow core door is made by a little bit of timber on the 4 external extremities of the door, and then a little bit of cardboard basically to hold the 2 leaves apart that are the outside of the door. And in this case, the part of the door that the handle screws into obviously has nothing behind the leaf on that top screw, as we can see here. And so obviously the screw, it's just worked itself out of that leaf and created a rather large hole there. So it's not doing anything, obviously. So we need to take the entire thing apart. So take all your screws out from the latch plate, from the handle plates, and just take the entire assembly out of the door, just leaving yourself a couple of holes there. What we are going to do to fix it properly is we're going to make a plug that we stick into the handle hole, and then we're going to poke it up to behind where the screws will sit, so that there's going to be something for the screws to screw into. The most important thing when doing something like this is 1, to make sure the cats don't run off with your screws, and 2, make sure you always know where your screws are. So keep them in a container, something like this, and that will ensure that you don't lose any of them. Obviously, any small bits that you have can be kept in the container too, like the latch assembly and the little square bit that goes between the handles to make the door open and close. Next bit, of course, is we're going to have to work out what size plug we need, because we're going to have to poke it in through the handle hole there and then poke it up to behind the screw hole there. So let's take some measurements. Get your trusty measuring stick out. Looks to me like it's 20 mil roughly diameter, might be 22, but 20 should work, because hopefully we'll be able to make something that size and stick it straight through the hole without too much effing around. Write your measurements down, that's always a good idea. Now we need to make sure that it sits in between the 2 leaves of the door. As you can see here, 1 leaf on one side and 1 leaf on the other side. They are the darker bits. You should be able to make a determination of the measurement in between those 2 leaves, and that looks like it's going to be about 28 mil in this instance. So write your measurements down. While you're there, have a good look inside the door just to get an idea of how it all works. Once you've got your measurements, then we're going to go outside, cut a plug and try and make sure that we can get something in there to fix this door proper. So what we need to do is we need to grab our chisel, and we need to get our chisel into that hole, and we're just cleaning up the little bits and bobs that they missed. Obviously, before the house or the door jamb has expanded, moved, slightly adjusted, it was working perfectly fine. Over time, something's happened. It hasn't continued to work fine, and that small amount of debris that they have left there is obviously causing the latch plug not to strike all the way home. So I'm just going to get the chisel in there and clean out the rest of the gunk, which, while holding the phone with one hand and holding the chisel in the other, is not the easiest thing to do, but I want to give you a vague idea of how to do it. So just clean it up, test it. That didn't quite work, it's got to be cleaned a little bit more, so have another go. Clean a little bit more out of there, get rid of your rubbish, and we might be right here. Let's find out. So I've determined that this is the right sort of size. It will work. I need to cut it down through this way because this way is slightly wider. This is about 29.5, this is the 29, and that should work. My measurement was about 28, but I've had a look at it in there and it should work. So I need to cut a hole like that, but a hole saw is designed with a pin in the middle, and that starts your hole. This one here. So I've adjusted a little pin that's going to go in there and not be in the way. But for that, I'm going to need a guiding hole. So I'm going to cut a hole in this first, then I'm going to put that on the top, and that's going to guide my hole down through the piece of timber that I need. So trusty clamp, trusty pool table, workbench, guidance hole, make sure that grub screw is nice and tight. My internal dimensions are slightly too large, so I'm going to rock it back and forth, and that should cut the plug a little bit smaller for me. And there we go, our little plug. I'm sure you could probably buy a dowel from one of the local hardwares that's about the same size, but easy. My plug doesn't quite fit. I didn't have quite the right size hole saw, so I'm going to get the original hole saw and I'm just going to take it out a little bit more. I'm not going to try and do that with one hand. I'm going to put the phone down and do that with two hands. Plug fits in nicely and goes up. So what I need to do now is I need to push this up so that it sits in the center of that hole. But I need to determine the center of it so that my screw actually sits in properly. So I'm going to put the phone down and do some measurements and try and do that properly. I am going to drill a pilot hole straight in the center of that one. That will basically ensure that when I put it up there, I put that in the center. That pilot hole will be where I put the screw. On one side, and that will hold it in place, and then I can put the pilot hole in the other side, and it'll be in the right spot. I should be pretty close now to being able to basically put the whole lot back together. First thing I'm going to do is start my screw in the hole to make sure that it actually drives when I stick the thing in the door, because it's going to move around a little bit in the door potentially. So it doesn't want to sit there. Try this. There we go. Okay, that should work. So, Cat wants to steal the screws. Please don't steal the screws. They're my screws. Get out of it. Okay, so I'm going to put the pilot hole on the opposite side. I'm going to poke that up. Hopefully into the right position. Yeah, beautiful. I've got my lovely camera operator that was in bed before when I first started. This is the tricky bit, trying to get it in the right spot.
You've got a supervisor as well.
Okay, so it's a bit hard to see on the camera, but my pilot hole is directly behind where the original screw hole was. So I'm going to put this handle plate on first. I've lost the screw.
Tism, was that you?
No, I put it down. I put it down. Oh, there, no, I haven't lost the screw. Okay, so make sure you're using the right handle plate, because if you use the wrong one, the handle goes the wrong way, which would be stupid.
Yeah, that will make it hard to... I don't even think the door will close.
No, it won't. So, find your hole. Oh, you beaut. I've done well here. Find your other hole. Okay. The bottom hole seems to be good. There seems to be something behind there that it's holding into, so hopefully this holds, but the top one definitely will. Oh, that feels nice and tight. It's actually doing something. Oh. Alright, so it has moved a little bit, but that's okay. I will get the other side on first. Strike a plate, make sure it's going the right way. If you have it that way, your door won't work. It has to go that way round. I don't like flat screws, they're horrible things. Phillips are way much better. Way much. Good English, Patrick. Okay, that seems to be good. Screws nice and tight. That's not going to work because this is not in there. Now it works with that, you beauty. Now, what we want to do is we want to drill a pilot hole just so that we don't split the timber. So we'll get the bottom screw in first to make sure it's all sitting in the right position. Drill your pilot hole. This is a brand new drill, I didn't want that to be bung. The first one was bung. Anyway, so oh, come on, get in that hole. I just drilled you. Okay, that feels like it's doing something now. Beautiful, that should drive home fairly well. It's not. Okay, I might need to get a screwdriver on both sides because it's just turning. So give me a sec, I'll come back. Because you work it out. I'm working it out. I'm driving this one home nice and tight, and that should hold it in. Hopefully. So I can then drive this one home. Oh, what a genius. Get that nice and tight. Double check your other screws. Make sure they're all nice and tight. Handle works. Job done. Jump it down.
Yay.
Not going no place. And let's find out if it works. Oh. Dead set genius. Simple.